Welcome back to Football Daily for today's 11, where we are giving you another team of players that retired far too early. Let's get into it. Goalkeeper, Carlos Roa. Argentinian goalkeeper Carlos Roa was at the height of his powers at the end of the 20th century, having not conceded a goal during the 1998 World Cup group phase before his penalty heroics against England in the round of 16. Domestically, he was turning out for Mallorca, with the island side being one of La Liga's surprise packages, finishing third in 1999 and reaching the final of the Cup Winners' Cup. Then 29, Roa had just won the Zamora Trophy for the best goalkeeper in Spain, and was being linked with Man United as Peter Schmeichel's replacement. However, he then bizarrely turned his back on football, certain the year 2000 would bring about the world's end, going off the grid to prepare for the apocalypse. After a year spent in a village in northern Spain instead of Old Trafford, Roa returned to Mallorca, with the world very much remaining intact. Unsurprisingly, he lost his starting spot for Los Bermelenos, and his career never really recovered. Roa moved to second-tier Albacete in 2002, and after recovering from testicular cancer 2 years later, ultimately hung up his boots for good in 2006, after a year spent with Olimpo back in his homeland. Before we go any further, just a quick reminder to subscribe to Football Daily and hit that notification bell to never miss one of our fantastic 11s. Defender, Philipp Lahm. Our first defender is Philipp Lahm, who despite being just 5'7", made his name as arguably one of the greatest defenders of all time. Primarily a right back, although utilised in midfield under Pep Guardiola, the Bayern Munich legend racked up 517 appearances for his hometown club before a seemingly abrupt retirement in 2017, aged just 33. The decision came as a surprise to many. Lahm was still a starter at the Allianz Arena and would make 38 appearances in all competitions in his final campaign. But the 8-time Bundesliga champion had made up his mind. His announcement said he would not be able to maintain his own high levels of fitness beyond the end of the 16-17 season, one in which Bayern won the title by 15 points. This wasn't the first occasion that Lahm sprung a retirement on us, calling time on his international career shortly after Germany were victorious in the 2014 World Cup. It's certainly been an illustrious career for Lahm, and it's clear he didn't want to spoil his reputation with the fans post-retirement, deciding to turn down a role as director with the club he'd been associated with since the age of 12. Defender, Ledley King. We've tried to stay away from players who retired early due to injury, but we reckon that Ledley King could have kept his career going. Spending the entirety of it with Tottenham Hotspur, King became a Lily-Whites legend with his commanding performances at the back, and would likely have been first choice for England if it wasn't for persistent knee troubles that ended his playing days. King first injured his knee in the 2006 pre-season, and would miss half of the following season's games before having surgery in summer 2007. Upon becoming Spurs manager in 2008, Harry Redknapp remarked that King rarely trains and mostly goes to the gym to tick over, with his condition leaving him unable to train alongside his teammates on a week-to-week basis. Still playing just a game a week, King would add over 100 matches to his total in the final 5 years of his career, with the highlight being lifting the Football League Cup in 2008. Retirement ultimately came in 2012, aged just 31, having made 323 appearances in North London and earning 21 caps for the Three Lions. A very good career even though he was fully fit for barely half of it. Defender, Frank Rijkaard. Frank Rijkaard is perhaps better known these days as the coach that took Barcelona into a new era under the presidency of Juan Laporta, which included Lionel Messi's rise and a Champions League victory. But he was also regarded as one of the best ever to play his position, making his Ajax debut at just 17 years old in 1980. Primarily a centre-back, although transformed into a holding midfielder at AC Milan under Arrigo Sacchi's tutelage, he was renowned for being strong in the tackle yet elegant with the ball at his feet. In a 5-year stint with the Rossoneri, he picked up 2 Serie A titles and 2 European Cups. And in 1988, he came third in the Ballon d'Or voting, behind teammates for both club and country Marco van Basten and Ruud Gullit, reflecting a triumphant Euro 88 campaign for the Netherlands. He'd repeat the feat the next year too, this time behind Van Basten and Franco Baresi. Rijkaard moved back to Ajax in 1993, aged 30, and would only play 2 more seasons before switching his focus to coaching. And he certainly bowed out on top, winning the Champions League against his former club, the 23rd and final trophy of the 32-year-old's illustrious career. Midfield, Hidetoshi Nakata. Hidetoshi Nakata is arguably Japanese football's greatest ever export, making his debut for the Samurai Blue aged just 20 in 1997 and spending most of his career playing for reputable clubs in Serie A. But aged just 29, having made 77 appearances for his nation and coming off a relatively successful campaign with the Bolton Wanderers side who had just spent the season in Europe, Nakata decided to hang up his boots. The 3-time Ballon d'Or nominee, who won the Scudetto with Roma in 2001, called time on his career in 2006, after Japan exited the World Cup at the group stages, having fallen out of love with the game. Having made his decision 6 months earlier, Nakata said, "Day after day, I realised football had just become a big business. I always felt that a team was a family, but it stopped feeling like that." An icon in his homeland despite stepping away from football, Nakata has remained in the public eye, becoming somewhat of a cultural ambassador. In 2013, he discovered a new passion as he launched his own brand of high-end sake, the national beverage of Japan, selling for $1,000 a bottle. Nakata has clearly rediscovered that joy he lost as a footballer. Midfield, Zinedine Zidane. Regardless of age, it seems like a fair argument to make that if you captain your country to a World Cup final and win the award for best player at the tournament, there's probably still a few years left in your legs yet. But Zinedine Zidane didn't think so, with his last act in professional football walking off the pitch past the trophy after that infamous headbutt in the 2006 final. The Frenchman actually made his announcement 3 months earlier at the age of 33, admitting he didn't want to carry on for another year and didn't feel like he had been his best for a couple of seasons. That was despite still being an integral part of the Real Madrid side he joined in 2001. Making 38 appearances across all competitions in the 2005-06 campaign. Rarely injured, that tally was actually the least in a single season since his breakthrough with Cannes back in 1990. Having turned 34 on the day of France's final group game in the 2006 World Cup, we don't think many would doubt he was entering the twilight of his career. But the fact that, even ignoring that red card, it all finished so suddenly is what really caught the fans by surprise. Midfield, Didier Deschamps. Nicknamed the water carrier, Didier Deschamps was not known for his skill on the ball, but instead as a tireless, tough-tackling defensive midfielder, before laying off the ball for the rest of his team to excel. His professional career began with Nantes in 1985 as a 16-year-old, but just 15 years later he brought his playing days to an end. Experiencing success with Marseille, Juventus and Chelsea, Deschamps' final transfer was to La Liga's Valencia, only making 21 appearances in a single season in Spain, but contributing to their run to the Champions League final, where Los Che lost to Real Madrid. Not a consistent starter and with fitness issues too, his future was up in the air, and ultimately his mind was made up by a job offer. Aged just 31, Monaco made an approach for Deschamps to become their manager. He accepted and immediately retired from the playing side of the game, and it was a good decision, kickstarting an enviable coaching career. Champions League finalist with Monaco in 2004, helping Juventus recover from the Calciopoli scandal, a league title with Marseille, and of course a World Cup winner as France's manager, 20 years after winning it on the pitch. Midfield, Eric Cantona. It's probably fair to describe Eric Cantona as one of the most enigmatic players in the Premier League era. One of the first foreign stars in England, King Eric was physically imposing yet elegant on the ball, combined with an off-field persona that his Manchester United manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, had to manage differently to the rest of his teammates. So, compared to some of the other players on this list, it may not have been as much as a surprise when he retired suddenly at the age of 30 in 1997. Ferguson would claim the Frenchman informed him of his decision immediately after United's Champions League semi-final defeat to Borussia Dortmund. Cantona remained tight-lipped, but revealed 20 years after his decision that he had lost his passion for the game, as he felt he was no longer learning as a footballer. After retirement, he didn't even watch a match for 3 years, on the off chance it would reignite his desire for the game. But of course, it's not like Cantona has faded into obscurity, having moved into the movie industry, appeared for France's beach soccer side, and regularly popping up at media events around the world, with his legend status still firmly intact. Forward, Kevin Keegan. More likely to be remembered today for his rant as Newcastle United manager back in 1996, shortly before they folded in their title challenge to a Cantona-led Man United, it's often forgotten that Kevin Keegan was one of the finest footballers of his generation. The 1978 and 1979 Ballon d'Or winner enjoyed a 16-year career, starting at Scunthorpe, taking him through Liverpool, Hamburg and Southampton, before retirement with the Magpies. Despite Newcastle's reputation, Keegan joined them in 1982 when they were in the second division, and was clearly still capable of performing to a high level, scoring 49 goals across 2 years before announcing his retirement on his 33rd birthday. He made the decision after realising he lost that extra yard of pace that all attackers strive for, and was reluctant to take up a deeper position with the club. However, he did ensure his career ended on a high, winning promotion back to Division 1 for Newcastle, before leaving the pitch at the end of the last match in a helicopter to a standing ovation. He ruled out a career in management in order to spend time with his family instead, but it turns out he couldn't stay away. Forward, Peter Knowles. As you've seen so far, players usually retire early citing a lack of passion or not being as fit as they once were. but the story of Wolverhampton Wanderers icon Peter Knowles stands out amongst all of them. In 1969, aged just 23 years old and in contention for an England call-up, the striker retired from the game. Why? He had become a Jehovah's Witness during a loan spell with Kansas City Spurs that summer. Just 8 games into the 1969-70 season, Knowles, who had scored 61 goals in 174 matches for Wolves, informed manager Bill McGarry of his intention to retire after a match with Nottingham Forest, but was roundly laughed off. However, the next day, Knowles only returned to pick up his football boots before departing for good. Knowles has maintained he's never regretted his decision, spending his career as a milkman, window cleaner and shop worker when he could well have been representing the Three Lions. Remarkably, Wolves always held out a hope he would return, keeping his name on the books until 1982, when he would have been 36. Not that it made any difference though, as Knowles was perfectly content with his new life. Forward, Dani Osvaldo. We finish with the most recent early retirement on this list. Dani Osvaldo hung up his boots in 2016 at the age of 30. Following something of a journeyman career. Moving from his homeland of Argentina to his adopted nation of Italy in 2006, Osvaldo played for the likes of Atalanta, Fiorentina and Roma, before Mauricio Pochettino's Southampton spent £15 million to bring him to the Premier League. His spell in England was marred with controversy, being fined £40,000 for a touchline incident against Newcastle, and having a training ground fight with Jose Font in his first season. And after 6 months he was already back out the door. Loan spells with Juventus, Inter Milan and Boca Juniors followed, but it's clear his head lay elsewhere. After his release by the Saints, he had 2 unsuccessful spells with Porto and again Boca Juniors. A free agent in 2016, Osvaldo was approached by Chievo Verona, but he turned them down in favour of a life of music, barbecue and beer, now fronting Barrio Viejo, his own rock band. He may have come out of retirement to play for his local Argentinian side Banfield, but it's been clear where his heart truly lies, at the Asado. So guys, that was our 11 of players that retired too soon. What did you guys think of it? Did we miss anyone out? And who of that list stuck out as someone who retired far too early? Let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed this video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you next time. Bye!